We start our stories from a chef named Tom, who ran a popular restaurant known for its fresh seafood and cozy atmosphere. Tom was passionate about cooking and loved creating new dishes. However, a problem arose when a new restaurant opened nearby. Its owner, Mark, was known for his underhanded tactics in business. Mark started spreading rumors about Tom's restaurant, claiming that the food was substandard and the kitchen unclean. Tom was initially distressed by these false accusations. His business began to suffer as tourists and locals hesitated to dine at his restaurant. Instead of confronting Mark directly, Tom decided to use his culinary skills for an ingenious form of revenge. He started by revamping his menu, introducing an array of exciting new dishes that combined local flavors with exotic ingredients. He also began hosting weekly cooking classes, sharing his passion and knowledge with the community. Tom's efforts paid off, and his restaurant regained its popularity. The locals loved the new menu, and the cooking classes were always fully booked. Tourists began flocking to his restaurant again to taste the unique dishes that were now the talk of the town. Meanwhile, Mark's restaurant was struggling. His menu was stagnant, and he lacked the culinary expertise to innovate. Seeing the success of Tom's cooking classes, Mark tried to copy the idea, but failed due to his lack of genuine culinary skills. The final blow came when a regional food festival was organized in the town. Both Tom and Mark participated in a cooking competition. Tom prepared a spectacular dish that was both visually stunning and delicious. Mark's dish, in contrast, was unremarkable. Tom won the competition, and his victory was celebrated by the whole town. The local newspaper published a feature on him, praising his resilience and culinary excellence. The article subtly mentioned the hardships Tom had faced due to unfounded rumors, casting doubt on Mark's integrity. Mark's reputation suffered greatly. People started questioning his business practices and the quality of his restaurant. He eventually had to close down due to lack of patronage. Tom, on the other hand, achieved greater success. His restaurant became a landmark in the town, known for its innovative dishes and the heartwarming story of a chef who overcame adversity through his love for cooking. Tom's story was a testament to the power of positivity and creativity in the face of unfair challenges. His culinary revenge was not only sweet, but also a celebration of his passion for food and his commitment to his community. In the next story, there was a bustling city known for its vibrant art scene. There lived a young and talented artist named Emma. Emma's paintings were beautiful and unique, but she struggled to gain recognition in the competitive art world. In the same city, there was a famous art gallery owned by a man named Mr. Harrison. Mr. Harrison was known for showcasing prominent artists, but he rarely gave chances to new talents. Emma had tried several times to get her paintings exhibited in his gallery, but Mr. Harrison always dismissed her work without much consideration. One day, Emma learned that Mr. Harrison was organizing a prestigious art competition. The winner's work would be featured in his gallery for a month. Seeing this as an opportunity, Emma decided to enter the competition. However, she knew that simply submitting her work under her name wouldn't do the trick. Emma came up with a plan. She created an entirely new series of paintings, different from her usual style, and submitted them under a pseudonym, E. Mason. Her paintings under this alias were bold and avant-garde, a stark contrast to her usual delicate and detailed style. The day of the competition arrived, and the gallery was filled with art enthusiasts and critics. Emma attended the event, blending into the crowd, her identity as E. Mason unknown to all. The excitement in the air was palpable as Mr. Harrison unveiled the finalists' works. To everyone's surprise, E. Mason's paintings received widespread acclaim. Critics praised the freshness of the work, and art lovers were intrigued by the mysterious new artist. When it came time to announce the winner, E. Mason's name was called. Mr. Harrison eagerly looked around for E. Mason, wanting to congratulate the new talent he had discovered. It was then that Emma stepped forward, revealing her true identity. The crowd gasped in surprise, and Mr. Harrison was visibly taken aback. Emma addressed the audience, explaining how she had been overlooked and dismissed despite her talent. She had proven that her art was worthy, but it took a disguise to be seen and appreciated. The revelation stirred up the art community. Critics and galleries began to question their biases and how many talented artists, like Emma, were being ignored. Emma's original works and her E. Mason series received widespread recognition, and she became a celebrated figure in the art world. Mr. Harrison, embarrassed but enlightened, offered Emma a permanent spot in his gallery. He also started initiatives to support and exhibit works by emerging artists. Emma's clever comeback not only earned her the recognition she deserved, but also opened doors for other unnoticed artists in the city. Her story became an inspiration, a reminder of the hidden gems waiting to be discovered in the art world. In the next story, in a small town, there was a local football team that was not very famous, but it had a dedicated group of players who loved the game. The team's coach, Mr. Thompson, was a former player who believed in fairness and sportsmanship above all. The town's team had always played well, but they often lost to their rivals from the neighboring town. This rival team was known for playing rough and not always following the rules. Their coach, Mr. Richards, believed in winning at any cost. As the annual championship approached, the town's team was determined to win this time. They trained hard, focusing on their skills and teamwork. Mr. Thompson constantly reminded them about fair play and respect for the opponents, even if the rivals didn't always show the same courtesy. On the day of the big match, the local team was nervous but excited. The game started, and it was intense. The rival team played aggressively, often pushing the limits of the rules. However, the town's team stayed calm and focused on their game plan. In the second half, the score was tied. In a crucial moment, one of the rival team's players faked a foul in the penalty area, hoping to get a penalty kick. The referee, unsure, looked at Mr. Thompson's team for their reaction. To everyone's surprise, Mr. Thompson signaled to his players to admit that it was a foul, even though they knew it wasn't. His team was confused but trusted their coach's judgment. The referee awarded the penalty to the rival team, who scored, taking the lead. The town's team felt disheartened but continued to play with all their might. In the last few minutes of the game, they managed to score 2 spectacular goals, leading to a sensational win. The crowd erupted in cheers for the incredible comeback. But more importantly, they applauded the team's fair play and sportsmanship. Mr. Richards' team and the coach himself were moved by the honesty displayed by their opponents. Mr. Richards approached Mr. Thompson after the game, congratulating him and admitting that he had learned a valuable lesson about the true spirit of the game. The town's team became heroes not just for winning the championship, but for upholding the values of fair play and integrity. Their victory was not just about scoring goals, but about winning with honor and respect. In another story of a vibrant neighborhood, there lived 2 neighbors, Mrs. Green and Mr. Bloom, both passionate about gardening. They had adjacent houses with beautiful gardens that were the envy of the neighborhood. Every year, the community held a garden competition, and the rivalry between Mrs. Green and Mr. Bloom was well known. Mrs. Green was an experienced gardener who believed in organic and sustainable gardening practices. Her garden was a mix of edible plants and colorful flowers, all grown naturally. Mr. Bloom, on the other hand, preferred a more manicured look with exotic flowers and used various fertilizers and chemicals to enhance the appearance of his garden. As the competition approached, both neighbors worked tirelessly in their gardens, adding new plants and designs. The entire neighborhood looked forward to seeing their creations, knowing the level of effort and creativity both put into their gardens. One night, just a week before the competition, a storm hit the neighborhood. The next morning, Mrs. Green woke up to find that her garden had suffered significant damage, with many plants uprooted and flower beds destroyed. She was heartbroken, seeing months of her hard work ruined. Mr. Bloom's garden had also suffered, but not as badly. Seeing Mrs. Green's plight, he had a change of heart. Instead of taking advantage of the situation to ensure his victory, he went over to Mrs. Green's house and offered his help to restore her garden. Mrs. Green was surprised and touched by Mr. Bloom's gesture. Together, they spent the next few days working in her garden, salvaging what they could and planting new flowers and plants. During this time, they shared gardening tips and stories, and a new friendship blossomed between them. On the day of the competition, both gardens looked spectacular. Mrs. Green's garden was a testament to resilience and natural beauty, while Mr. Bloom's garden was a sight of perfection and care. The judges were impressed by both gardens and, for the first time, declared a tie. The neighborhood celebrated the joint victory, but more importantly, Mrs. Green and Mr. Bloom's newfound friendship became the highlight of the event. They continued to help each other in their gardens, blending Mrs. Green's organic methods with Mr. Bloom's elaborate designs. The annual garden competition became more collaborative in the following years, with neighbors helping each other. Mrs. Green and Mr. Bloom's gardens became a symbol of community and unity, reminding everyone that sometimes the fiercest competition can lead to the most unexpected and rewarding friendships. In another story of bustling city, there lived a couple, Jake and Eliza, who were food enthusiasts. They loved exploring new restaurants and writing reviews on their blog, which had gained a decent following. One evening, they visited a newly opened restaurant, La Deliziosa, owned by a renowned but arrogant chef, Chef Ramsay. Expecting a delightful experience, they were met with disdain from the chef, who looked down upon bloggers. Chef Ramsay believed only critics from prestigious publications deserved attention. Despite the cold welcome, Jake and Eliza decided to focus on the food. Unfortunately, their dining experience was underwhelming. The dishes lacked flavor, and the presentation was mediocre. Disappointed, they wrote an honest review, highlighting both the good and the bad. Chef Ramsay, upon reading their review, was furious. He publicly ridiculed them on social media, questioning their taste and expertise. His response went viral, causing a stir in the food community. Instead of retaliating, Jake and Eliza saw an opportunity for clever revenge. They embarked on a project, the hidden gems of the city. They visited small, lesser-known restaurants, showcasing their exquisite dishes and the hard work of lesser-known chefs. Their blog's popularity soared, and the Hidden Gems series became a hit. Local food enthusiasts and critics started taking their recommendations seriously, leading to a significant increase in business for the featured restaurants. As more people flocked to these hidden gems, Chef Ramsay's La Deliziosa saw a decline in customers. People were more interested in trying out the places recommended by Jake and Eliza. Realizing the impact of their influence, Chef Ramsay invited Jake and Eliza back to his restaurant, offering a special dining experience to make amends. This time, the couple found the food much improved and the service impeccable. In another story of bustling corporate office, there was a graphic designer named Mia. She was known for her creativity and dedication. Despite her talent, Mia was often overlooked and undervalued by her boss, Mr. Henson, who took her hard work for granted. Mia's breakthrough opportunity came when the company landed a big client, and she was tasked with designing a crucial advertising campaign. Mia poured her heart into the project, creating a stunning design that impressed everyone, including Mr. Henson. However, when the time came to present the design to the client, Mr. Henson passed off Mia's work as his own, taking all the credit. Feeling betrayed, Mia decided it was time for some clever revenge. She knew that Mr. Henson had minimal design skills and relied heavily on her for the department's creative needs. Mia started looking for a new job and soon received an offer from a leading design firm with a significant pay rise and better position. Before leaving, Mia was asked to handle one last major project. She agreed, knowing this was her chance to set her plan in motion. Mia created an initial design that was good but not her best work, knowing Mr. Henson would present it as his own again. As expected, Mr. Henson eagerly took the credit for the design in the initial meetings. However, Mia informed him that she was leaving the company for a new opportunity before completing the final design revisions. Mr. Henson, confident in his ability to handle it, didn't think much of Mia's departure until he sat down to finalize the design. He soon realized he was in over his head. The client was expecting a high-quality finish, and Mr. Henson couldn't deliver without Mia's expertise. The client was unimpressed with the final design Mr. Henson submitted, leading to a loss of the account and a blow to his reputation. Meanwhile, Mia thrived in her new role, gaining recognition for her talent. Mr. Henson's career took a hit as his inability to deliver quality work became apparent. He learned a hard lesson about the importance of giving credit where it's due and not underestimating the talents of his team. In the next story of a small, tight-knit town, there was an elderly man named Mr. Roberts, who was well known for his love of chess. He was a retired teacher and a respected figure in the community, often seen playing chess in the local park. Mr. Roberts had always been a kind and fair player, eagerly teaching the game to anyone interested. Across town lived a young man named Eric, a self-taught chess enthusiast, with a sharp mind, but an arrogant attitude. Eric had heard of Mr. Roberts' reputation and saw him as a challenge. He decided to confront the old man in a public game to prove his superiority. One sunny afternoon, Eric approached Mr. Roberts in the park and challenged him to a game of chess. A crowd gathered, intrigued by the showdown. Mr. Roberts, with a polite smile, accepted the challenge. The game began, and it was clear that Eric was a skilled player. He made aggressive moves, trying to intimidate Mr. Roberts. However, the older man remained calm and collected, countering Eric's strategies with quiet confidence. As the game progressed, Eric became increasingly frustrated. Mr. Roberts' experience and patience were evident in every move he made. The crowd watched in awe as the old teacher skillfully outmaneuvered the young challenger. In the end, Mr. Roberts checkmated Eric, winning the game. The crowd erupted in applause, impressed by the unexpected turn of events. Eric, feeling humbled and embarrassed, quickly left the park. Mr. Roberts, however, called out to Eric and invited him back to the chess table. He offered to teach Eric not just about chess strategies, but also about sportsmanship and humility. To the surprise of the onlookers, Eric returned and took the seat. Over the next few weeks, Eric became a regular at the park, learning from Mr. Roberts. The old man's wisdom and kindness had a profound effect on Eric. He not only improved his chess skills, but also his attitude. He became more respectful and patient, both in the game and in life. The story of Mr. Roberts and Eric spread throughout the town, becoming a beloved example of how humility and mentorship can change lives. Eric went from being an arrogant challenger to a respected member of the community, all thanks to the unexpected checkmate and the wise teachings of an elderly chess master.